Hey, it's you. Welcome back. Welcome to the Black Pill. Let's talk about your height in inches. Specifically, you can't know how tall you are, and you can't solve the three body problem. So let's go. How long is 1 foot? I mean, not the thing at the end of your leg. I mean, 12 inches, not the appendage. The imperial measurement of a foot is defined as a third of a yard, 12 inches, or 3.048 meters. That's by definition since 1959, so that we don't get a million fiddly decimal places. There's a reference foot somewhere, a reference yardstick with feet in it. Um, I'm sure. But is it? Is it 1 foot long exactly? Is the foot on the yardstick exactly 1 foot long? How would you how would you know that? I mean, at some level, you're saying that's what a foot means. It's as long as the foot on the reference stick. But how do you know that reference stick is the same length as the 0.3048 meters on the metered stick in Liechtenstein or wherever they keep it in an underground vault, right? How do you know the meter reference is exactly a meter long? A steel ruler, 1 foot long, would be slightly longer than 1 foot in warmer conditions and slightly shorter in cooler conditions. The difference might be trivial for almost any purpose at this scale, but significant when building large things out of steel. The Eiffel Tower changes height by a few centimeters, for example, over the course of any given day. The SR 71 Blackbird spy plane famously leaks fuel like a sieve when it's sitting on the ground. But when it gets up to speed, the friction over the various plates heats them and they expand, and the thing becomes a solid, becomes a solid at speed. And at cosmic scales, precision measurement is a bear. So, how tall are you? Well, how accurate is your ruler? Uh, I'm linking an Adam Savage bit about him having an epiphany on on measurement. He's super concrete, and he never took that discussion in the way that I had hoped he was going to take that discussion. But the discussion he has, I mean, is it's 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 fascinating, interesting, and important. Thanks, Adam. Um, so I'm going to the abstract place. How accurate is your ruler? Uh, I'm between 6'2" and 6'4", depending on which convenience store I'm leaving. That's from Ron Tater Salad White. How do you like my Texas accent? Yeah, I don't know. I think it sucks too. A perfect ruler doesn't exist. So, maybe we could gauge your height to within a 16th of an inch, which is good enough for almost any purpose, except we can't do that because you never stand the same way twice. I can never get a perfect right angle with the wall that my ruler is taped to. I can never perfectly assess the highest point of the crown of your head. There's always measurement error. Best practice is probably to measure your height 3 times over the course of a day and average those and hope that cancels out the growing and shrinking of your spine and legs and averages out the measurement errors and whatever. But that's not your height. That's your average height at best, within a certain degree of uncertainty. You can change height depending on temperature, posture, how long you've been standing, 100 other biomechanical factors. Some people are coy about their scripts. I can't be bothered to edit though. So here we go. Let's come at this with intersecting lasers. We're going to point a laser at the top of your head and jigger it around until it stops shining on the wall behind you, right? And pull it up until it starts again and down, and like keep doing that until that is how tall you are, right? And then we're going to mark that spot on the wall. We're going to turn the laser up and burn a hole into that spot on the wall, and then we're going to point another laser down, and we're going to rig up a sensor so it detects the passage of that laser light, and a sensor at the bottom that does the same thing. And the one at the top is going to start a clock, and the one at the bottom is going to stop the clock. All right. And now we know how tall you are. That's your height. Distance, or height in this case, is speed times time. So we just need to know the speed of light. Oh, crap. The most accurate clocks in the world don't prevent mechanical delays. Sorry. Even if you could perfectly mark that spot on the wall, which you can't. That's what we've been talking about. But if you could, you'd have the laser there, you still have to start and stop a clock, and there's going to be some delay in that. And maybe you can somewhat measure how long the delay is and account for it, but not perfectly. But there's another major problem, which is we don't know the speed of light. The speed of light has never been measured. The problem is relativity, that time is never the same at the beginning of a beam of light and the end of a beam of light. Time is different depending where you're standing in the universe. So you might know the speed of light down to like 1,000 decimal places or something, but you can theoretically, you could always get more and more accurate, but never come up with a definite number, because the speed of light itself is indefinite. Why? Well, because space is indefinite. There isn't the same amount of space between two things 1 meter apart. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Even if you know the meters perfectly. Because gravity bends space. So, you don't have a height in inches. You have a range of heights, depending on the time of day and physiological factors and biomechanical factors and local gravity, measurement error, instrument error. And at the atomic level, your component parts are always vibrating anyway, You occupy an indefinite amount of space. Does it matter? I mean, here's the essential problem, though, of reductionism. And it gives rise to chaos. No measurement is ever perfect, and no thing in the universe is ever itself totally stable. There is always perturbation in the real universe. The three-body problem refers to the incalculable nature of three interacting stellar objects. They're in some kind of co-orbit, and for how long can you plot out how the motions of those things through space as they interact? It's not as though if you could perfectly measure their mass and velocity, you could compute their orbits in perpetuity. It's that their masses are variable and immeasurable. If one could ascertain their velocities perfect, and one cannot because of relativity, and their mass at a moment in time perfectly, they remain unpredictable for more than a few thousand or even million years. Each object changes mass over time, somewhat predictably, but not completely predictably. Stars shed matter into space. They also accrete matter from space. And matter springs into being at the quantum level in pairs of particles and antiparticles that almost always co-annihilate, but don't always, and exist for as long as they exist. The measurement of the mass of a body must always include those temporary Particles in the math must always include the gravity of faraway objects, no matter how minor. The perturbations of gravity, two black holes collide 100 billion light years from here, and that ripple moves through space, compressing it for a fraction of a second. Even something as elementary as a double pendulum cannot be understood. It never swings the same way twice. So I've linked a little demonstration for you. I only watched the first minute. I've seen this so many times. So no guarantees of the quality of the discussion that follows. But perfectly understanding the starting conditions is not possible. There's always another factor and always another decimal place of variance. So you can think you understand a system, but add in another decimal place and there's a little variance, and another decimal place and there's a little variance, and another decimal place there's a little variance. So here's another link I'm going to put in is Bob Sapolsky on his Stanford class site. Bob Sapolsky, to my mind, is the premier lecturer of his time. And just watch him struggle to convey his internal state as he grapples with the consequences of the utter failure of reductionism in medicine. I'm a psychologist. Like, what does any of this matter? Does any of this matter to a psychologist? Well, man, understanding human behavior is many times more complicated than trying to understand celestial bodies at a distance. Psychology and medicine attempt this reduction at their peril and also at ours. I've been the Black Bill. Thanks for your time.